Hello everyone. In the last class, we were discussing about dielectric material. We were considering what happens when an external field is applied to dielectric material. We saw that when the external field is applied to dielectric, we can model the dielectric as being consisting of dipoles. That is, dipoles are introduced or induced inside the dielectric material, and these dipole in turn will generate an electric field of their own. We saw that we could actually relate this response of material, right, in terms of its polarization to the electric field. Now, what is this electric field? Was it actually external electric field that we applied? Actually, it turned out that this is not completely the external field, because there are these dipoles which have interacted. So there is some amount of back action that has happened because of dipoles that are generated, and the electric field E should actually be the field that is inside the dielectric. Therefore, there is some back action because of dipole, because of molecules, because of ions that have changed their equilibrium position as we have applied the external field. Therefore, electric field is the net total electric field after taking into account all the back actions. It turned out that this back actions is so small that for practical purpose we can neglect that, and this electric field will be the field that is generated because of dipole itself. Okay, so now let us imagine that we have dielectric material. Okay, so this is my dielectric material of arbitrary shape, and inside dielectric material there are lots of dipole that are induced because of applied electric field. Now let us calculate what is electric field at some point PO. This electric field that I am considering at some point far away from dielectric material. And let us say we write down this field point vector. We denote this as a particular vector R with respect to origin. We will use first idea of obtaining potential, and from potential we will try to obtain electric field. That is the easier way of proceeding in this problem, because potential is a scalar function and it is obtained a vector from the scalar by delta operation. Is actually much simpler than trying to estimate electric field directly. So let us assume that we had a small volume inside the dielectric that we are looking at, and this volume has a differential volume of dV dash, and it is kept at certain position inside the dielectric material. I mean, actually we are not putting any volume, we are just assuming that we are actually craving out a small volume of considering of finding the electric field. Okay, for considering or for finding the electric field. So we just imagine that there is a small volume inside the dielectric, and we want to calculate what is potential because of this dipole inside this volume of field point on this field point. Okay, so if you look at this, their dipoles in this differential volume dV, we want to calculate what is the potential at this field point. After we have calculated potential, we will then calculate electric field. So how do we do that? I know this is R and this is R dash I am considering. Okay, and let's go back to the same notation up here. R dash indicates the source of charge, and in this case charges are dipole that I have been induced. R is the vector from origin to field point. Now the potential is actually a function of R minus R dash, or the distance between, if this is the vector R dash and R, so the distance between R minus R dash, let us call by R. R being the magnitude of distance between the dipole in the volume to the field point. So the potential is basically whatever the charge that are present inside the volume element, that is 4 pi epsilon naught into r. So we will use capital V for potential and small v for the volume. Okay. So the potential at field point, let the field point is at some point r, right? So this is vector point r, and the potential at this point is actually given by 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught. Epsilon naught is constant, that's why it is sitting outside. And then what is total charge that there is inside this volume element? Okay, so this charge density is actually P times dV dash, and P is the polarization or the net dipole per unit volume. Multiplying that volume element will give me net dipole sitting inside the differential volume or the volume. Okay, and multiplying this with volume element will give me net dipole moment. Will give me net dipole sitting inside this volume dV. So this would be the total charge that I have. Now P is vector, so I need to actually rewrite this equation in a proper form and write this one as dot r hat by r square. Why this is 1 by r square? If you recall what is field of dipole, you will remember that if you consider two charges, one is minus q, another is plus q, and define qd has a dipole moment at any other point where we are trying to find field, we found that the field is actually P dot r hat by r square. If the field was proportional to P dot r hat by r square, where P is q d, the dipole moment, right? So this is dipole moment. Field is actually 1 by r square for this dipole moment. Therefore, there is a 1 by r square sitting here. And r is unit vector in the direction of the force charge to field charge. Now we will assume that this field point is kept at very large distance. Now that is how we actually note down this field for a dipole earlier, right? So we assume that dipole itself or the dielectric material itself is confined to a small region. In another word, r dash magnitude is very small compared to capital R. Okay, so this kind of quite realistic in many cases that we will considering. Therefore, we can make this approximation and obtain potential is actually going as 1 by r square. Okay, so this is my potential. We should also write down the expression for r. In order to write down, let us choose a Cartesian coordinate system. So in Cartesian coordinate system, r dash, the source charge, is described by a vector x dash x hat plus y dash y hat plus z dash z hat, and r field point vector is defined as x hat plus y hat plus z hat. Note that you should have actually done this entire calculation that we are going to do without really getting into a particular coordinate system. It is just a kind of simplifying or initially intuitive understanding of the field that we were about to calculate. Okay, so if you want, you could completely eliminate a particular coordinate system and work directly with the expression that we have used here. Okay, so that seems to be slightly not intuitive. Therefore, we are going to introduce some coordinate system, but the result that we will obtain will be independent of coordinate system. Okay, so r, capital R, is r minus r dash. So it will be x minus x dash x hat plus y minus y dash y hat plus z minus z dash z hat. and magnitude for that will be x minus x hat x dash square plus y minus y dash square plus z minus z dash square and square root. Okay, so you will have to introduce one vector identity. We will try to give you how to derive that vector quantity. So I have inside integral r by r hat by r square. Okay, so this quantity is actually related to a quantity of del dash by 1 by r. Now 1 by r is definitely a scalar function. So this is kind of might look okay because there is a scalar, and on left hand side there is a vector. So del operator on scalar will give you a vector. That might be alright. However, what is the prime on this del operator? We have not talked about prime on del operator. It just turned out that this prime simply indicates that you have to differentiate with respect to prime coordinates system, that is x dash, y dash and z dash, rather than an unprimed field coordinate which is x, y and z. Okay, so del operator is defined as x hat partial differentiation with respect to x dash plus y hat partial differentiation with respect to y dash plus z hat partial differentiation with respect to z dash. Now you can try and find out whether this equation is true or not by writing 1 by r as x minus x dash square plus y minus y dash square plus z minus z dash square 1 by minus 1 by 2, right? 1 by r. Now applying del operator. So amongst del operator, let us first apply to partial with respect to x dash. Let us differentiate this one with respect to the prime and then find out what would be the resultant expression, and then we will able to find the expression for partial differentiation with respect to y dash and even x dash. So let me differentiate with respect to x dash first. Okay, so what do I get if I differentiate this with respect to x dash? This quantity, if you will see, I can assume it to be constant, some k, because with respect to x, this is constant. Okay, so it will look like 1 by x minus x dash s square plus k square 1 by root 2. Okay, this is some constant. Why it is constant? It is constant simply because when I differentiate with respect to x, y and z, these are my constant values. Okay, now we actually differentiate this one using your basic rule of differentiation, and you will get x minus x dash x hat by this constant 3 by 2. Constant will be this whole term. Okay, so it is root by 3. Okay, because there is differentiation, right? There is x minus x dash. In which direction will it be pointing? It would be pointing along x direction. So if I differentiate and then look at del along x hat, that is the component along x hat. Okay, so I am going to get x minus x dash x hat and this quantity to the power of 3 by 2. Now this is no big surprise that if I try this one with y and z, these quantity would give you very similar results, y minus y dash y hat and x minus x dash x hat. Okay, and denominator will still be the same. It will not change, right? So it would be this expression. Now collecting all these three terms, you will get del operator on 1 by r. Okay, and if you will see the numerator, it is what? It is my r. Okay, so I can write it r minus r dash. Similarly, it is magnitude if 2 divided by 2, so here it's not there. Okay, so it's in cube, and if I write r by r, that is equals to r vector. Okay, so sorry, it is unit vector is vector by its magnitude. Okay, so you will get unit vector divided by square because one magnitude has gone in this term. Okay, so this is what I am getting. Now I will put this equation for r hat by r square in this equation, right? That after I do that, I get potential V as 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught constant outside, inside the polarization or net dipole moment P dV dash dot del dash 1 by r. Well, that is it. So 1 by r square has been observed in the del operator, correct? Now we might want to use, or we will be using another vector identity, and that vector identity is del dash dot 1 by r into p. Okay, so the diversion of this one. So I am hoping that you remember this, the diversion of scalar into vector. So if this is my scalar f and this represent vector field, so diversion of that can be obtained as f del dot g plus g vector dot del f. Okay, so does it make sense? Yes, it makes sense because this is diversion operation on vector field. Just because I am multiplying vector field g by a scalar f doesn't mean that I have changed this into a scalar field. So this is actually a vector field. So the diversion of this vector field will be equals to f times del dot g. This is all right because this will give me scalar, and scalar multiply with scalar will provide scalar only. Here this will provide me vector, vector dot product with vector will provide me scalar. Okay, so I have this identity, I can apply this identity to this function. Okay, so it will be like 1 by r del dot p vector plus p vector dot del 1 by r. Now if you look at the second term, this is the preciously the term that is sitting inside, this term is sitting inside this volume integral. Okay, dv dash is just a scalar that can be taken out without any change in this expression, right? So I will just erase it once. So this expression will be now looks like this. So I am taking dv outside and then I am putting first expression minus second expression, it will go on that side and it will be minus. Okay, now I will use some more theorems. Okay, volume integral is actually over dielectric, that you should keep in mind. Now from here we sort of apply couple of another theorems. I know how to apply Gauss diversion theorem, so that I can convert this del dot integral into surface integral, right? So I can apply diversion theorem. So I will apply diversion theorem. If you are confused what is diversion theorem is, So integral of d dot ds is equals to integral of del dot d over dv, right? So this is Gauss diversion theorem. Surface integral can be converted into volume integral. Here I want to convert volume integral, therefore I can convert into surface. So this becomes P dot ds by 4 pi epsilon naught r, and this integral must be closed over a surface that dielectric material is bounded in. So dielectric material is bounded by the surface S, which is what we are considering, and this volume integral can be replaced by surface integral, and this let us now not change anything. This will not change anything. Okay, so I still have del dot p by 4 pi epsilon naught r dv, correct? Now this kind of starts looking very suspicious, like surface charge density and volume charge density, correct? So the first one, which is P dot ds by 4 pi epsilon naught r, would be obtained by evaluating surface charge distribution. So we will call this as rho sp, which is surface charge because of polarization, and 1 by r indicates that it is a potential function, right? So this kind of look like potential that could be developed or that could be induced because of surface charge density, an equivalent charge density, and that equivalent charge density is rho sp. Okay, similarly if I look at this del dot p vector, this would be volume charge density, and if you go back to Gauss law integral, del dot d, I means Gauss law in point form, del dot p is equals to rho. Okay, this kind of indicates a volume charge density, and that volume charge density would be rho vp. Of course, it is possible to incorporate surface charge into volume charge. So you can always define volume as vanishing small height with a finite area and include surface charge into volume charge distribution itself, in which case we will have only one volume charge, equivalent volume charge. Okay, so we can do that, is what is normally done. Okay, so I have a volume charge and a surface charge. Please note that I have put subscript P in addition to this S standing for surface, V standing for volume. I have put an additional P here to indicate that these charges are not the charges which are freely available to you, but they are the charges because of polarization. That is, the material has been polarized, and these equivalent surface and volume charge densities are available, but they will act as though they are free charge and produce an electric field. Now you might be right asking me, these free charge available to us? Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that you can actually devise measurement on atomic scale. Okay, so these charges will be available to us, but we are considering phenomena which is not just microscopic scale. We are considering phenomena over macroscopic situations. So you know, I take a length for example which would be dielectric medium, and I do not want to be put an ionic or atomic measurement inside and trying to find out this or trying to access this surface and volume charge. I will be happy as long as I am given an equivalent description. So I am not looking at actually extract the surface and volume charge. If I choose, I can put this into the goal of your study. Okay, for us these are not available as free charges, rather they are bounded inside the material. So these are something called as bounded charges. Just to emphasize fact that these are bounded to the material, they are not available as free charge, at least on macroscopic scale. So we have used something, we have shown something using mathematics. We know we did some theorems, we did another theorem, but what is physically there? Where is physically volume charge and surface charge coming from? Well, to do that, go back to dielectric. Okay, so let us say this is dielectric boundaries, and I have, because of applied external electric field, there are dipoles, and there are so many in number, but I am just considering 5 or 6 of them. But you have to assume that there is lots of these dipoles. Okay, so I have dipole here, I have dipole here, I have dipole, and then I have dipoles at boundaries. Okay, now it turns out that if I choose any volume here, typically this volume would have a dipoles, and I am indicating the fact that there are these dipoles which are actually now accounting of all the charge inside. In this volume there would essentially be the neutralization of charge. Each dipole will be paired by another dipole, and this charge would be neutralized, in the sense that there would be a paired with something else. However, on the surface there would be these unpaired charges, and these are the equivalent surface charges, the polarized bound charges that we are going to get. So this is surface charge, and if these are volume charges, there would actually be interior to the dielectric, and they will not be on the surface. They would be all in the interior to the dielectric. So this is rho Sp, the surface charge density is defined as P dot S. I will just clear it once. So rho Sp is equals to P vector dot S hat, because we have to understand that the surface itself could be irregular in shape. So at every point on the surface I have to find out what is the surface normal, and then on the surface normal I have to find out what is the contribution of P on that surface. So P is the density vector. So it has certain orientation, remember that, and when you apply a potential, there would be a component of P along the surface normal, and that would also be that would form the surface charge distribution. Similarly, volume charge distribution, because of polarization, is minus gradient of P. So if at all you have a non-uniform dielectric, right, then this quantity will equals to not equals to 0. Okay, there would be certain volume in which there is delta dot this quantity P, that is non-zero, that would create volume charge density of the volume, right? So you could, as I said, observe rho Sp inside rho Vp by defining an appropriate limit of volume charge. Remember, we did this. The most general distribution is volume charge. Then you could convert a volume charge distribution into surface charge. Surface becomes line, line becomes point, right? An appropriate integration limit, if you apply, you can convert volume to surface and surface to line and line to point. So you could accommodate this rho Sp inside rho Vp, and you write V, the potential, as volume charge integral of minus del dot P by 4 pi epsilon r. We are just incorporating it inside this. Okay, so if I observed rho Sp into rho Vp, now this potential, you could find out what is, from this potential you could find out what is electric field. So you would find out what is electric field. Now we do not really want to find out electric field at this point, because next argument tell us what is relationship between potential here and the potential due to free charge. So let us assume there is arbitrary charge distribution, okay, and this arbitrary charge distribution is responsible for this external field, right, and this is responsible for external field and potential at the field point. Now I have placed a dielectric here, and dielectric is described by equivalent volume charge density rho Vp, okay, and rho Vp is given by minus del dot P. So what would be the potential at this point? The potential will be because of the charge distribution. Let us call this as rho F, indicating free charge, okay, and these are the charges which we have placed, and these are the charges which are actually responsible for external field and polarizing the dielectric. So I have free charge here, I have charges rho Vp, therefore the potential at field point actually will be given by both free as well as volume charge, right. So that would be rho F minus gradient of P. This is volume charge, 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught r dV, right. Again we are actually evaluating field at very far away, okay, distance from the dielectric. Now if this is the field, right, if this is the field that I have, I could take it one step further and write down this as rho F plus rho Vp by 4 pi epsilon naught r, right. If I define rho total as rho F plus rho Vp as far as potential at this point is concerned, where which I am very far away from the dielectric, there is absolutely no difference between rho F and rho Vp. Therefore, the field point from this charge distribution, this point where I am calculating the potential, both these charges add to the potential, right. Therefore, Gauss law has to be replaced by del dot D equals to rho F, which would be valid if there is no dielectric in between. To modify this Gauss law, rho F plus rho Vp, but what is this rho Vp? Rho Vp is gradient of P. At this point, it really doesn't matter whether I am looking at gradient of P or del dot V, okay. So the del operator would essentially enclose as one big volume, okay. So del operation that we are writing down actually be a volume around a field point that I am considering. There it do not matter where this del. So del has to be done at dielectric, whereas del dot D that I am doing would be at field point, okay. So I can simply write this del dot P and plus this minus rho F minus del dot P. I am just putting these values, then I am putting rho epsilon E, okay, because we know that D is equals to epsilon not E in free space, okay. So I actually now bring this on the another side, and that will give me D. This, if I equate them, this is giving me D. Now we have seen that this vector P in most cases it would be proportional to electric field. So the first power of electric field, why? Susceptibility parameter xi e, right? So I can introduce P into the expression of D and write rho 1 plus psi e electric field. Now we have given a name 1 plus psi e is equals to relative permeability, permittivity. Okay, and 1 plus xi e stands for susceptibility, and for material which is not free space, this value will be greater than 1, and rho will be greater than 1 for a material that are dielectric, not free space. Okay, so for free space rho r is equals to 1, which again indicate xi e to be equals to 0 if rho is equals to 1. For any other material, rho is greater than 1. So in terms of that, I can write down D as rho epsilon naught epsilon r electric field. It's not rho, it's xi. Okay, sorry, epsilon. So sometime this is shorthand handed further and simply write epsilon e. Okay, so you have to note from that contents that epsilon could be different in different material because of polarization vector. P would be different in different material. Some material will have small value of polarization, for some material will have large value of polarization, some material would be at different temperature. Okay, although we have D is equals to rho times E. Alright, so we have D is equals to rho times E. Okay, so that's all for today's lecture. Thank you.